Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm showing you how to make a 2-tier unicorn cake. We are starting off with 3 8-inch round cakes, and I am putting them onto an 8-inch round cake board and just securing that with some buttercream. So the first layer is down, and now I am putting the first layer of buttercream. You can use any colors that you want, but I am doing pink, purple, and blue for the buttercream that goes in between the cake layers. So we are just smoothing this out, and then we are going to put our second layer of cake on, and we want to make sure that that is very snug, and then we put on the second layer of buttercream. And again, we are smoothing this out so that it is nice and level for our third cake layer, and we will have a very level cake. The top cake layer is always going to be put on top upside down, as it is very flat, and with layer cakes you want the top of your cakes to be flat, that way they look nice and crisp. So I'm putting this in the freezer, and we are starting on the top tier cake. This one is a 6-inch round cake, and I'm only using 2 layers for the top. So I'm putting down the first layer, and then I am doing 1 layer of blue buttercream in between. Just going to smooth this out like I did on my other cakes, making sure that it is nice and even. And then I am going to unwrap the other frozen cake layer and put that on top upside down. And we're smoothing out the sides of the cake, and I like to freeze this again. I'm gonna be going back and forth with the 2 cake tiers. So first we smoothed out the sides of the buttercream that was sticking out between the cake layers, and now we are doing the crumb coat. And a crumb coat is basically a thin layer of buttercream that seals in all of your cake crumbs. And back into the freezer we go. And the small one comes out, and we are doing the exact same thing with another cake crumb coat. Having a good crumb coat just ensures that you have a really nice smooth surface to work on when you are putting your final layer of icing on, and your decorations are going to look really nice. Now the cakes are in the freezer setting up, so we are going to work on our props. I have some fondant here, and I am going to use about a cup's worth of fondant for both the horn and the ears. I have some cornstarch. I like to put that onto the counter as well as my hands, and a little bit on the fondant. And I am cutting the 250 grams in half, and then one of the halves in half again. That's going to be for the ears. I'm setting those aside for now, and I'm working on the horn for the unicorn. I like to knead the dough very well so that it's very pliable to work with, and I'm rolling this out here, making sure that the rope of fondant is a bit larger at one end and then much smaller at the other, and we are making the horn for the unicorn. So I'm wrapping the larger part about 1/3 of the way down a shish kebab skewer. I'm securing that, and then we are just wrapping the fondant around the skewer until it gets to the very top of the stick. Depending on the temperature and humidity in your workspace, you may need to have a small bowl of water with a brush, and you can kind of paint on the water so that the fondant will not have any cracks. I didn't do that here. I could have. It makes for a bit of a smoother look, and it helps the fondant to just wrap a bit more nicely. But just keep doing what I'm doing here. Wrap the fondant around the stick, and eventually you will have a unicorn horn that we will then set aside, and we are going to paint with some edible gold. So I'm just finishing up the top of the fondant here, and I am just securing with my fingers the top of the fondant so that it is pointed at the top. And now that the unicorn horn is done, we are just cutting the very bottom off so that the bottom of the unicorn horn will be flush with the cake and it will have a very seamless look. And we are just going to pull this off of the skewer, and then that will be ready to be set aside. So now with the other two pieces of fondant that we had set aside earlier, we are putting those down on the counter, pressing them a bit so they will be more flat, rolling them out, and then cutting them into the shape of an ear. And you want to make sure that the points are rounded, as unicorns have a soft look. So that is what we are doing here. And we are also adding a shish kebab skewer to each of the ears. So now that all of our props for the cake are ready, we are going to paint them with some edible gold. You can find edible gold luster dust on Amazon, and we are going to take a little bit of this with some form of alcohol. So you can use Lauren oils. I'm using some vanilla extract here. You can also use vodka, but I don't have any of that on hand. So this works well if you don't keep alcohol in the house. So just add some of the luster dust and then mix it with the extract of your choice until it becomes a paint-like mixture. And then we are taking a paintbrush and we are painting on the centers of the ears. And then for the unicorn horn, we are going to fill in the creases with the edible gold, and then we are applying the gold to the rest of the horn as well, and it just comes to life at this point. And we are going to set these props aside and let them dry overnight. So now we are ready to assemble our cake. I have a 12-inch cake drum here, and I am adding some buttercream to act as a glue. And I took the 8-inch cake out of the freezer. I took the original 8-inch cake board off, and now I am putting the final coat of buttercream onto the cake and making a very nice smooth finish. And I am using a very light pink buttercream for this cake. So I am using a bit of buttercream on top to act as glue for our second tier. And I'm going to take that out of the freezer, put that on top of the cake, and then we are going to do the final coat on the top 6-inch round cake. I'm applying the icing and we are just going to smooth this out. I smooth out the top at the very end, and then if there are little bits around the edges that kind of bother me, I will apply some more buttercream and smooth that out. Now I am using a cookie scribe and we are carving out on the cold buttercream some eyes, and you want to do some half circles and then little eyelashes. In this small bowl, I have mixed some black food coloring with a small amount of cherry flavored Lauren oils, and it makes for a really nice edible paint. So I am filling in the carved out sections that we did on our cake, and this is going to make for the 2 unicorn eyes. One thing I will say is I worked on this cake over 2 different evenings, so it did give the cake props some time to fully dry, and I'm using some crafting pliers now from Michael's. And with these, you can cut the bottom of the shish kebab skewers off, and now they are ready to apply to the frozen cake. I always work with frozen cakes, so that's why it looks like it's taking so much pressure to push these props in, which it is. As to not ruin the fondant, I will put the pliers around the shish kebab stick and hold tightly, and I will push down into the cake so that the bottoms of the ears will be flush. Now I also have some two-tone buttercream. I have purple and blue in one, and we are using the 1M star tip from Wilton cakes, and I am just making rosettes all over the top. And it doesn't have to be perfect with this type of design. You can just start making rosettes anywhere, and it really does look pretty in the end. So we are alternating between the yellow and pink buttercream and the purple and blue buttercream. We're adding a little forehead rosette here, and then we are going to start on the mane of the unicorn. So the back of the head, and it doesn't matter which way, but you can curve down on the back of the cake a mane, and we are making rosettes all the way down. We are also going to use the same piping tips to make little stars to fill in the sparse areas. And once you fill in all of those areas, the cake really does come together nicely, and it makes for a very pretty cake. And so we're just finishing up on the rosettes and stars, and the main portion of the cake is done. So we are using a smaller star piping tip, and I will have the types linked in the description below. I am using a new piping bag with that tip, and I am just putting the pink, purple, and blue buttercream into the bag. This is a really good way to use up your leftover buttercream so that nothing goes to waste. And we are just going to start piping a border around the very bottom of the 8-inch round cake. And you will see that because of the way we put the buttercream into the bag, that it will be a bit unexpected what colors you're going to get out of the bag. So maybe you'll start off with blue, but then some pink and purple will start peeking through, and you can stop the border wherever you like, work on a different section, and then come back once you have another color coming through that you like. So you can see here we have some pink stars, and then there is some blue in the center. And with a cake like this, I don't really think it needs to be perfect. As long as there's a lot of pretty colors everywhere, it's going to look really nice, and it's going to match the rest of your design really nicely. So now I am going in with our edible luster dust, and we are going to paint any areas that need some fixing up, and then I am painting the back of the unicorn horn just so that it matches and flows with the rest of the cake and it has a really flawless finish. And that is absolutely it for this unicorn cake. This cake is perfect for any little girl who loves unicorns. So if you try making this 2-tier cake, please let me know in the comments below. Also, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And you can also follow me on Instagram at thejamturnover. I will have everything linked in the description below. And I hope you guys all have a really great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.